Yeah.
If you have some free time for yourself, do you watch films? And if you watch some horror movies or...
Oh, I'm a fanboy. Guys, here's my problem. When I first started in Hollywood, I'm from Hollywood. I'm a Hollywood kid. Born in the Hollywood Hills. I could hit Cecil B. DeMille's mansion with a rock from the hospital I was born in. But, and I grew up, I would go to the market with my mother and father to get a turkey sandwich from the delicatessen in the butcher's shop in the back. And there'd be Clark Gable would be standing there. So I grew up around show business. My uncle was a famous editor, Richard Fritsch, and his brother was a sound editor, and they worked on all the early television shows in America. So I was around it all the time. I was a fanboy. I loved horror. I loved science fiction. I loved fantasy. I loved it all. I went to the opening day of Forbidden Planet as a child, and I can remember how much that movie blew my mind as a kid. And I remember going to the matinee. We would save our money, all of us kids, and we would go to the Saturday matinees. And in those days, you got two movies. You'd see double bill. That's where the word double bill comes from. Two movies on the bill. And it was great. I remember seeing great little horror movies, low-rent, low-budget horror from the 1950s, or seeing it on television later on when it was on TV, watching it on TV. I remember sleepovers when they first showed Frankenstein on American television in the 1950s. And it was on at 11 o'clock at night, and it was the uncut version where he breaks the neck of the little girl and throws her in the lake. That's cut out of a lot of versions now, just like in King Kong. In the original King Kong, there's a shot of his foot stepping on a baby. That's been cut out. Yeah, famous shot. Yeah, when he comes through the village, he steps on a baby. It was like famous. People freaked out in the movie theaters. There's a famous shot of a man I remember this on TV, a man in the mouth of the Brontosaurus, a sailor. The sailor dips down. They're all on the raft with the mist around, and the Brontosaurus comes up and puts his head down in the water and comes up, and the man is being bitten in half, and it's just agonizing, screaming. I mean, I remember seeing that on a sleepover with my popcorn in my little sleeping bag from the department store with my buddies all in a row, you know. My parents are asleep and it's midnight and we're watching it on the Late Show. Oh my God. So I was a fanboy, but when I became a theater actor, I was a snob. I was a good actor, but I was only going to do theater. The theater is my temple. Only the theater, only Shakespeare, Bertolt Brecht, Chekhov, Moliere. That's all. I was only going to do the classics. And then I got into the avant-garde. I was always only going to do the new theater, living playwrights only. I was never going to go back to Hollywood. So I was a bit of a snob. And when I worked with Wes Craven, he taught me to respect horror. And I had roommates in the 70s in Hollywood that loved it. Mark Hamill was asleep on my couch a lot. He was hanging out. He was at my house all the time. Luke Skywalker. And Mark actually had letters in Famous Monsters magazine. And Mark got me back. We would smoke a little marijuana. and drink a little Heineken, and we would go to see the Vincent Price, Dr. Phibes movies. And that started to get me back into it again, into low-budget horror and fun horror. And then we discovered other things. I discovered some early Brian De Palma horror, the movie Sisters, which is one of my favorite horror movies by Brian De Palma. And Wes, again, made me return to my roots and understand how important the genre is. Sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and what it means to fans. And now, horror has replaced and science fiction, and fantasy have replaced the cowboy movie and the gangster movie, which were the popular programming, entertainment that came out of Hollywood and the rest of the world for many, many years. Germany didn't make westerns, but you guys made great horror movies. You practically invented the horror movie. And France practically invented science fiction. And so those films were, I remembered how much they meant to me. And I remembered when I was a little boy going to my uncle's house, and he had a big coffee table book about the movies. And there was a section in the golden age of horror in the 1930s. And there was a picture of the Daughters of Dracula before the code, the censorship code in America. And you could see through the nightgown of the Daughters of Dracula. It was real sexy. There was a whole double-page spread of pictures about this size of all the characters Lon Chaney had played, all the different makeups, including one where he took the placenta off of a hard-boiled egg and wrapped it around his eyeball, put it inside his eye to make his eyes milky looking, playing a blind man. Well, that has to be the first contact lens. This is like 1912 or 1950, Lon Chaney. This is before Phantom of the Opera, when he did that. So I was fascinated with that stuff. So I think that maybe was in the back of my head, even though I'd been a snob for a while. When I said yes to Wes, that was in the back of my head, that I always wanted to mess around with the makeup, effects makeup. Because I come from the theater, and in the theater you're required as an actor to do your own makeup. There's no makeup people in the theater. Well, there are now. There are now. But there didn't used to be. I think it began with Beauty and the Beast, maybe. There's a Disney musical that began to have people come do special effects makeup. But even people that did radical old age makeup had to do it themselves. It was part of being an equity stage actor in the union. So I was always fascinated. I'd be sitting next to some old guy from London doing a play when I was young, in my early 20s. And he'd have his old tackle box, a fishing box. He'd open it up and it was like magic. I remember one old guy had a ball wrapped in tin foil, and he unwrapped the tin foil, and it looked like the earth. It had all these colors on it. And he would just do this. And an hour later, he completely transformed his face. His cheeks go in, his temples recess. He put on, false eyebrows that look absolutely real. Just a little teeny bit of glue, little tiny pieces of hair. I love those guys, those old guys. I thought it was just an amazing thing. So I think that combination of that book and all those photos of Lon Chaney, and then working with those old English actors that would do all those crazy makeup tricks when I was a young actor, I think that's part of why I wanted to play Freddy. And that made me play Freddy. But yeah, I love horror movies. I mean, I watch them all the time. I have on demand. I don't know what they call that in Germany, but it's like, it's a thing that you get with cable TV. What do they call it?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing on demand. But on Fridays in America is when you get the new movies. Sometimes Wednesday you get a couple. But Friday afternoon, if I'm home, I'll go to on demand, and I'll go to the new movies, and then I'll go look over in the genre. I can go to different genres, action movie or whatever, and I'll look through horror. And I'll go through all the horror movies, A to Z, alphabetically, and I'll watch the previews. The trailers are all free. The previews are free. And that's a good way and I kind of make a mental list on the ones I want to see. I hear the best new movie. Now I've been talking, if you guys follow any of my tweets, I've been talking about this movie called Blue Ruin for a couple of years. This is a great film. Great film. It's a revenge movie. It's not horror. But that director directed a horror movie before Blue Ruin. Well, his new movie is called The Green Room. And it just got the most amazing reviews. So I'll go back tomorrow and I'll see if it's on demand. I've been looking to see that. Because it may be on demand now in the States. But that's the hot tip I have for you now. This movie Green Room is supposed to be amazing. And this director's really got some stuff. He's really got chops, as we say. Yeah, I love horror movies. Yeah, I love graphic novels. I love sci-fi. Yeah. I feel bad for Tom Cruise. like Tom Cruise needs me to feel bad for him. But he did. Tom's done two really terrific sci-fi movies in the last couple of years, and nobody went to see them. They bombed, and I feel bad because I liked both of them. And one of them was for Spielberg, and it didn't do well. So I think it's kind of a shame. But yeah, I mean, I try to go out to see event movies. I hate when I'm on a plane and I see somebody watching Avatar on their phone. It just breaks my heart. I know how hard they worked on that movie. So I go out with the wife and we go out to because I'm a senior now, we go to the senior matinee. But I go where they bring you a cocktail and the big, nice, comfortable seats, and I go into the matinee because the matinees are cheaper, and I get my senior card. But I go see it in IMAX 3D. If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, IMAX 3D, it's, I mean, I felt like a 12-year-old boy. The same thing happened to me with Life of Pi. The same thing happened to me with Avatar. There's just some great, great stuff to see. So I call that event films. You have to have those.